Hi, bestie. Today I'm going to tell you about the time I found out not one, but two of my boyfriends were gay. Yes, ma'am. Okay? Happy Valentine's Day. No tea, no shade to the first one. He was my first love. We were young. He just didn't know about his sexuality yet. Tea and shade to the second one though, because he had a whole ass double life and he used me. Let's get into it. Also, if you are single and alone like me, here's a flower to you, okay, Bessie? You grab it. It's beautiful. It will never die. And since we're in the spirit of dying love, I think I'm gonna do my nails with dried up flowers. Yeah, you wanna see them? You see it? Yeah, that's one of them. This is the other one. So cute. I do have diamonds too, but I don't think I'm gonna go that route. So I'm gonna take you back all the way to the 7th grade. He was in the 8th grade, I was in the 7th grade. We're just gonna give him the name Max. His name is not actually Max, and he was a twin. His brother and him weren't really that alike. His twin brother had male friends and he played more sports. The other twin, his friends were mostly girls. He just had a different vibe to him, but he was such a sweetheart. So one after school, I see one of the twins staring at me, and it's obviously the one that's a little bit more feminine, and I'm like, oh my god, what is going on? Like, your girl was the ugly duckling growing up, okay? No one ever liked me. No one ever had a crush on me. I was always like bullied. You know what I mean? Like, no one really wanted my ass, and that's okay. You know, I'm not for everybody. I wasn't used to the attention. So him staring at me, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, what? I didn't know what the hell was going on. And so I guess my friends noticed that he was staring at me. They weren't really my friends though. They were kind of mean to me most of the time. But they ended up picking up on that. And somehow, I don't even remember how it went, they're like, hey, Max says he likes you and he wants to know if you like him back. And so in my head, I'm like, what? And at the time, I didn't like anyone. I had never seen Max in that way. But immediately, I'm like, somebody likes me? I was like, wait, I think I do like him. I've been in love with him this whole time. Like, I didn't realize it until right now. He, like, set us up. After I give him my answer, they run up to him. I'm like, you know, what did I do? So I go to the bathroom to escape the whole situation. Because your girl was a mess. And I'm in the bathroom, like, hyperventilating, okay? I'm sweating. My heart's going a million miles per second, you know? And I'm like, oh my god. And then a couple seconds after, they end up going to the bathroom after me. And like, come out the bathroom. He wants to talk to you. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. Like, no, he doesn't. Like, God, please have my mom pick me up. Like, what did I get myself into? I was not ready, you know? And they're like, he's outside. He's waiting for you. He wants to ask you a question. Girl, I almost passed out. And I was like, what question? Does he really like me? Is this a prank? Like, am I being bullied? This boy was patient. It felt like I was in that bathroom for an hour, but it was probably like around 20 minutes. Until finally they're like, girl, he's gonna get picked up soon. Like, you gotta go out now, or like you're not gonna know what he wanted to ask you. And I'm like, damn, okay, like I'll go out then. So I exit the bathroom and he's right there. I don't even have time to gather myself, Bessie. So I'm like, hey. He's like, hey, I have a question. And I'm like, yeah, what's your question? He ends up asking me to be his girlfriend, and I obviously said yes. And he's like, okay, we're boyfriend and girlfriend now. And I'm like, yeah. I have never talked to this boy. Okay, before this interaction, I had never talked to him. Shortly after, he ends up getting picked up. And so I'm left with my own thoughts, and I'm thinking, oh my god, what just happened? Like, do I have a boyfriend now? Like, okay. Oh, and by the way, Bessie, this is the same private Catholic school I went from, like, kinder till 8th grade, okay? So, like, you couldn't really talk to boys in this school because the teachers were always in our business, okay? During recess, during lunch, during after school, they always had adults around checking up on us, like, listening to our conversations, making sure the girls aren't sitting next to the boys, like, you know, we had nuns for teachers. It was like really strict, really like, you better not get into a relationship. You know what I mean? So like, I couldn't really talk to him, especially because he wasn't in my grade, you know? Anyways, fast forward a couple days. Every time it was lunch hour, I was always freaking out, like, oh my god, he's gonna talk to me. Like, he's gonna talk to me. It never ends up really happening until one lunchtime, girl. And I see him going around with this like little tin box, and he's just going around in the fields like doing some shit. And then right before lunch is over, he's like, hey, and I'm like, oh god. I'm like, hey. And he's like, I have something for you. And I was like, really? What is it? He pulls out the tin box And he's like, open it once I'm gone. And I'm like, okay. Okay, I'll wait, thank God, because I'm sweating in front of him. So I'm just like, okay, bye. And he's like, okay, bye. He kind of stays close, like staring at me, and I'm like, oh my God, I really gotta open this in front of him. And so finally he like goes away a little bit, and I open the tin box. This was probably like an Altoid box. He probably took the paint off or some shit. I don't know. It was like one of those little tin boxes. I open it. Girl. It was like this paper towel, okay? He had picked up the flowers from the soccer field. Like, he had gone to every single type of flower in the soccer field, and he picked them and placed them in that little tin box, girl. It also had like a little note. I don't remember if he wrote something in a tin box or if it was a paper, but it was like some cute shit, okay? So during this time, people had also told me, like, I thought he was gay. Like, and I'm like, what? No, he's my boyfriend. Like, how is he gay? He's my boyfriend. And he's just like different from his twin brother, but like doesn't mean he's gay, you know? Like, so fast forward a couple days. One of his guy friends ends up coming up to me and he's like, hey, Max wants to see you behind the 7th grade building. And I'm like, what? Yeah, he's waiting for you there. And I'm like, no way. And of course, like, we're a small school, bestie. So when he told me this, everyone was like, what did he tell you? What's going on? Of course, everyone found out he was in the back of the 7th grade building. And so my friends ended up pushing me over there because I physically can't walk. Like, your girl is tripping. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going. They're like, oh, you gotta go. He's waiting for you. I'm like, no, I'm not going. And somehow I end up finding out that, like, he wants to kiss me, girl. Like, I died. I couldn't breathe, girl. I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything. So all I remember is getting pushed out of this building. He's right there on the side waiting for me, looking at me. And I'm like, this boy is brave. Like, he has like really good eye contact. Goddamn, you know, I'm not ready for this shit. Like, you know, fuck. And I'm just like standing super far away from him, like not even getting close to him, kind of just being there awkward. And he comes up to me. He's like, let's go over here. And so we get a little farther away from the whole ass crowd in the hallway, okay? So I'm like, okay, I like could barely walk. So we end up going a little to the side. So finally he holds my hand and I'm like freaking out, probably sweating from my palms. Okay, I'm probably sweating everywhere. Like, you already know the deal, girl. And he's like, can I kiss you? And I was like, so he starts closing his eyes and going towards me. And all I can remember is me doing this. I was just fucking staring at him. And then I realized, I'm like, maybe I don't want to be staring at him while I'm kissing him. So I finally close my eyes and I feel his lips, girl, against mine. I will never forget that feeling, Bessie. Ever, 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 ever. It felt like every nerve in my body was on fire. I felt like I was floating, girl, okay? It was just like the most beautiful sensation ever. Obviously, it was my first kiss. Like, he was my first love. He was my first boyfriend. I ended up hearing snickering. So that's when we like kind of like stopped kissing because it was just like a long peck, girl. It was just like that's how it was, okay? And so we end up hearing everybody like in the fucking hallway. And when I look at the crowd, I see them all with their flip phones. They're like taking pictures of us. And so I guess the teacher ends up coming because they all start dispersing and we're like freaking out. So like we end up going like towards the building. And then like that was that, you know, like days passed on, like we didn't talk about it, you know, like it was just like any other day after that. Even though I was in love now. Like anytime I saw him, I felt butterflies. You know, I'm like, that's my man, you know? So fast forward a couple weeks later, we're all outside, like all the 7th graders and the 6th graders. I don't know if it was during lunchtime or after school, but there ended up being no one in the 8th grade class. And I saw one of his friends like go into the class and he was going to close the door, like the outside door, to go like be with the rest of the 8th graders because they were doing something. And that something was graduation day. It was either the day before graduation or actual graduation day. And in my head, I'm like, this is the perfect time. Before he closed it, I go run up to him. I'm like, hey, can you tell Max something? And he's like, yeah, what happened? Can you tell him that I'm breaking up with him? And he's like, why? And I'm like, well, because he's graduating and like I'm in 7th grade and he's in 8th grade and like I just don't want to tie him down. He's going off to this very prestigious high school, like, you know, he's not gonna be thinking about me. So I'm like, can you just break up with him for me? And he's like, okay. And I'm like, okay, thanks, bye. Girl, I was heartless. I was heartless, you know. At the time, I'm a little girl and I'm thinking, I can't tie him down, you know what I mean? Like, I'm looking out for my man. It was like our last day of school, I think, before summer break, because I never end up seeing him again after that. I don't remember ever seeing him again. I find out that he's openly gay, okay? And everybody gave me so much shit for it. They're like, you turned him gay. Like, he left to high school and like after you, like he was just gay. Like, he wasn't gay before. He was gay after he dated you. And I was just like, fuck you. Really? You think it was me? And now fast forward a year later, I'm now graduating from the 8th grade. And you know, I was an overachiever. Because like I said in my other videos, like I was going to take my mom out of poverty. You know what I mean? Like I was getting good grades. I was doing everything I had to do to make sure that I was going to get into a good high school. Do you know where I'm going with this? Guess who ends up getting accepted into the same prestigious high school? Me. Well, I end up going to this high school. Okay, he ends up seeing me and I just avoid him. You know, I'm just like, he doesn't exist to me. I don't exist to him. Like, I'm just gonna ignore the whole situation. A couple of days later, I get a text from him. Okay, not even a text. I think it was through Facebook Messenger, because I didn't even have a phone at the time. Okay, girl, I didn't have a phone until sophomore year of high school. He ended up saying like, hey, I am gay, but like, you're always the one I've always really been into. Like, you're the exception. Me? I was like, oh my god. See, I didn't turn him gay. But like, at the time, I wasn't into him anymore. I think I left him on red, or I ended up being like, oh, like, that's great, but like, I'm not really like, you know, interested. And we ended up going on like good terms. We just like didn't talk. He just wasn't comfortable with his sexuality, you know, back then, because we were like in 7th and 8th grade, you know what I mean? That's totally normal. Like, no tea, no shade to him. He was my first love, my first kiss, my first boyfriend, and I wish him nothing but the best. I didn't know what love was, but I loved him at the time. So that ends up being that with him. Okay. Now let's get into the next guy. All the tea, all the shade to him. We're gonna call him Kevin. If you're seeing this, Kevin, all the tea, all the shade, you broke my heart. Okay, let's get into it. Now I'm in high school. I'm no longer in the same prestigious high school. I end up going to public school shortly after my freshman year, like in the summer. It was actually the first day of summer break. I ended up getting hospitalized because I almost died, girl. Okay, I had a really bad eating disorder. After I got out the hospital, I was like, Mom, I don't want to go to this high school anymore. She's like, but you have a full ride scholarship. I'm like, I know, but I'm so tired of private school. Like, I want to go to public school, and I'm a high schooler, right? So I'm craving chaos. Okay, girl. Stupid shit. I should have never left that high school, but it's okay. You know, everything happens for a reason, and I love where I'm at now in my life. Thanks to you, obviously. Okay, thanks to you. And my mom was like, okay, like, if this is gonna better your health, then fine. I'm like, yeah, it is. So, but in my head, all I'm thinking is, oh my god, like, it's gonna be so crazy. Like, public school is so crazy, you know? So, on my second day at this high school, this girl ends up befriending me, and I'm like, oh my god, like, I'm gonna have a friend, you know what I mean? Like, a crazy public school friend. And we end up becoming best friends. Like, she's great, she's awesome. She had this cousin, which we're gonna call Kevin, and somehow Kevin ended up seeing pictures of me and her, and like, he was interested in me, because obviously, like, I was in my glow up phase at that time, so I'm like, yeah, give me all the boys. And he ends up telling my best friend, like, you know, hook us up. So my friend's telling me about him, and I'm like, oh my god, he's perfect. Like, he's just some kid, you know, from like this small city. He's really like nothing special. No tea, no shade to him. Well, we end up talking. He ends up asking me to be his girlfriend. It happened as fast as it did with my first love of my life. We had never met, but we were boyfriend and girlfriend. So shortly after this, I end up leaving this high school because I end up getting hospitalized again. This time it wasn't because of my eating disorder, but because of my mental health. Okay, I went to the place where they give you the grippy socks. If you know, you know. And I end up going to another public high school. But my best friend and I, like, we keep in touch. And her cousin and I end up talking again. And we're like boyfriend and girlfriend. Right before summer break, we were in chemistry class, like, with my new high school, new group of people. And I didn't really have, like, a lot of friends in this high school. It was very ghetto. Okay, very ghetto. The high school was actually located in an old middle school. Like, there were students that were gangbangers, like, that repped blue or repped red. We couldn't really go outside Cause like nos exponíamos, you know, like if we would go outside, nos exponíamos que algo iba a pasar. Like in this high school, girl, they ended up hitting this girl with a glass bottle at like the gas station, like during lunch hours and after school. Some shit went down. Like it was that type of school. And so after that, we weren't allowed to go out for lunch or anything like that. Like it was very locked down. Okay. So we're in chemistry class. I'm depressed. Like, you know, I'm not really talking to anyone. But it's like a day before summer break. And they end up giving us like this day to just talk and like kiki around. People end up breaking up in groups like to talk to each other and stuff like that. But I wasn't really close with anyone. So I was just like sitting there awkwardly like, okay. A little group ends up forming next to me. So it was me, some other kids, and then we're going to call this guy Ralph. Okay. So Ralph is super outgoing. He came from like another city than from where we were all from. He was super bubbly. He always had like his makeup on. He looked great. And he was also gay. I'm mentioning that because it's important, okay? The group next to me ends up talking, and they're talking about boys. And I'm just on the side, so happy just to like be able to listen to their conversation. Because it was a good one. Like they were cheesing me out. And Ralph always made it a good time. Like he was super funny, you know, super bubbly. And he had no filter. And he wasn't shy to overshare. And I was like, oh my God, his life is so crazy. Like, wow, this is so exciting, you know? So I'm just listening, like kind of smiling. And he ends up asking me, he's like, oh, what about you, Sully? You have a boyfriend? And I was like, oh shit. I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh really? Like where is he from? And I told him the city. And he's like, no way. He's like, I'm from that city. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, tell me his, like, what's his name? Maybe I know him. Because it's a small city. And I was like, yeah, his name is Kevin. His name is not actually Kevin. But his real name was actually not that common. So when I said his name, immediately, like, he knew who this was. He's like, Kevin? And I'm like, yeah, Kevin. He's like, Kevin, like Kevin? And I'm like, yeah, like Kevin. He's like, what high school he goes to? And I end up telling him. And he's like, how old is he? You know, and I end up telling him his age and everything. And I'm like, yeah, like he's my best friend's cousin. And he's like, oh, okay. He kept asking me questions, and I was just like, okay, like, but his face started turning from like, you know, like last day of fucking school to like, girl. And I was like, what? Why? I'm like, you know him? And he's like, yeah, actually, I do. Since we're having this conversation, the group ends up forming like another little group like next to us. And that's when he's just like, girl, you might want to rethink your relationship. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, girl, I've seen him on certain sites. And I'm just like, what do you mean you've seen him on certain sites? Like, girl, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you might want to ask him about some things. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I've seen him on some sites for like gay men. Girl, I was like, no, you haven't. That's not him. Like, you're confusing him. It's not him. Like, it can't be him because he's my boyfriend and he loves me. He's like, well, you might want to talk to him. So I'm just like, okay, well, thanks for letting me know, you know. But I'm like, but I'm pretty sure he's not. And he's like, okay. I'm like, all right. And so that ends up being that, okay? I end up sending a message to my boyfriend, who I still haven't met yet, but we're planning to meet, right? And I'm just like, hey, but before we meet up, like, some guy at my school ended up telling me something, and I'm like, I'm kind of concerned about it. He's like, what is it, babe? And I'm just like, well, he's saying that he's seen you on, like, these sites that are for people that are gay. And he's like, what? He's like, that's impossible. I'm not gay. And I was like, yeah, I know, babe. But, like, he said he saw you. And, like, it was your face and it was your name. And, like, he knows of you. And he's like, yeah, that's not true. Like, that's not even possible. Like, you better tell him he better stop spreading these rumors or else. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, if you love me, you're going to tell him stop spreading these rumors or else. And I'm like, okay, babe. Like a dumbass girl. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, babe. Like, I should have never doubted you. I end up sending a message to Ralph. And I'm like, hey, my boyfriend Kevin says that you're spreading lies and that you better stop or else. And he's like, or else? And girl, remember that this school was like filled with a bunch of troubled kids, okay? Me being one of them, but like in a different type of troubled way, okay? Like, I was not dangerous. I was not threatening at all. So I'm thinking, oh, he's just gonna laugh at it. He's gonna be like, psh, this girl. You know what I mean? Like, not threatening at all. But he ends up getting pissed off, rightfully so. He's fully roasting me, girl. Like, girl, I had no chance against Ralph. I ended up blocking him because I couldn't take the heat. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't take it. But before you feel bad about Ralph, he got his revenge, okay? He had your girl living in fear for the rest of the year. So then I ended up going to my boyfriend like, look, Kevin, like, I did what you told me. Like, stupid, bro. Like, I ended up saying this, and he's like, good. Like, you know, you did good. And I'm like, okay. So fast forward, it's now summer break. I'm still with Kevin. I get a Facebook message from a guy I don't know. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I end up opening the message. Immediately I closed the message because I saw some shade girl that I was not expecting to see. I finally get the nerve to open up the message again. I'm like covering the pictures this guy had just sent me, and I'm reading the paragraph first. He's like, this is who your boyfriend actually is. Like, he doesn't like you, you're ugly, you're a piece of nothing, like all these things. And I'm like, what is going on? I finally get the nerve to like look at the images he sent me, and it's Kevin in his birthday suit, okay? Girl, oh my god, he's like turned to the side, like popping out his butt and like doing one of these. And up to this point, I had really honestly lied to myself. Like, I had denied that my boyfriend was gay this whole time because I'm like, he's not. The moment I saw those pictures, I was like, wait a minute. And after I read that horrible paragraph, okay, that absolutely disgusting ass paragraph, I'm like, whoa, like, where is this coming from? Who is this guy? He's like, he doesn't even want you, he wants me. And that's where he ends up being like, look at the pictures he sent me. And I realized in that moment, my boyfriend had a double eye, okay? My boyfriend was gay. Okay, and he was using me to front that he was actually straight so his parents wouldn't find out that he was gay. Okay? The moment I put all the pieces together, I start crying and bawling as if somebody died, girl. Like, I was on the floor a mess. Like it was a fucking novela, girl. I was just like, ah. I felt pain physically, okay? I end up confronting my boyfriend, Kevin, and he's like, and he's deny, okay? Like, he's not ready to come out the closet. And I'm like, look what I just got. Like, is this true? Like, tell me this isn't true. Like, tell me this isn't true. And he's like, that's not true. Like, I don't know who that is. Like, they're using fake pictures. They're putting my face on these, like, naked man. Like, girl. And so I finally start putting two and two together. I'm like, Ralph never lied to me, huh? Like, you are gay. Like, and I end up becoming this boy's therapist, okay? During all my pain and suffering, I'm like, Kevin, if you're gay, that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with being gay. But, like, you have to be honest with me, because at the end of the day, like, I'm a human being too. Like, I have feelings, and it's not okay for you to, like, string me along, you know? Like, if you need a cover story, like, I'll be that for you. But you gotta be honest with me. And he's like, okay. He's like, I am gay. And I was like, oh my god, you are? I was hoping he was gonna say like no or some shit. But he's like, yeah, I am. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's okay. I'm like, how are you keeping this away from like your family and your friends? And he's like, oh, well, it's because I do it in secret, and when they found out I had a girlfriend, like, you know, they ended up calming down, and so that's why I didn't tell you anything and all these stuff. And so I'm heartbroken, right? But at the same time, I'm like, I get where he was coming from. So I'm like, okay, like, don't worry. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody. Like, you know, you don't got to worry. I can say it now because now he's openly gay. So all is good, girl. all is good. But I'm like, you had me threaten Ralph, you know, like, how dare you? And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I was just scared. Like, I thought, you know, he was going to out me. I had to go back to this high school where I literally threatened Ralph. And so I'm just like, oh my god, I don't want to go back to school. Like, oh my god, like, I feel so bad. And at this point, like, I still had Ralph blocked, and I was scared to unblock him because I didn't want to see the messages. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to apologize to him in person because he didn't deserve that, you know? Like, he was telling the truth the whole time. So now fast forward, summer break is over. I walked into the high school getting ready to like apologize to Ralph in person, and like I had a whole script written in my head. Like I was ready. I was gonna be like, I'm so sorry. Like, first of all, you never lied, so I'm sorry for accusing you of lying. Second of all, I'm sorry of like threatening you on behalf of my fucking ex-boyfriend. Like, turns out you were right, and he was just scared, and like I apologize. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I had it ready in my head. I was gonna apologize to Ralph because it was just not okay what I did, you know what I mean? So I'm like getting ready. So first day of school, so I'm asking around like, hey, have you seen Ralph? And they're like, no, I haven't seen him. And I end up going to like this pair of girls, and I'm like, hey, have you seen Ralph? Like, I need to talk to him. And they're like, girl, I don't think you want to talk to him. And I'm like, what? Why? Why? I heard Ralph and some girls are gonna jump you. My heart sank, and I was like, what do you mean jump me? She's like, yeah, they're gonna get you after school and they're gonna jump you. And I was like, oh. Fuck. I knew that like I had no chance. Okay, no chance. And at the time, your girl was in therapy, okay, because I was mentally ill, you know what I'm saying? So I tell my therapist, like, so it turns out, like, I have a guy that, he wants to jump me with his friends because, like, I threatened him. Honestly, it was my fault. I was getting ready to apologize, and then some girls told me that he was gonna jump me and all this shit. And my therapist is not from the hood, okay? Like, he went to Harvard. He didn't have a single ghetto bone in his body. So he was just like, okay, what you gotta do is just gotta avoid him. Just don't run into him in school. Just avoid him, okay? And I'm like, so I shouldn't try to find him and still apologize? He's like, no, absolutely not. Like, go to a teacher and like tell him what's going on. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, fucking right, I'm not gonna tell a teacher, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna for sure get my ass jumped. But I end up listening to my therapist. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna avoid him, because obviously he was hurt, you know what I mean? And he obviously like felt threatened enough to like want to jump me. He lived a different life than me, you know, you growing up gay and different, because like he always had his makeup done, he always looked fabulous. He obviously was bullied a lot growing up. So when I threatened him, he took that as a, she for real. Like, I'm sure that wasn't his first, like, threat that he got, you know, growing up. Because obviously, boys are cruel. Girls are too. You know, I was stupid. And he was going to make sure that I knew that he wasn't playing around, you know? But you know what? Good for him. Because he got his revenge, because for that whole year, I was just walking on eggshells, girl. I'm like, any moment, I'm going to get jumped. The hood didn't make me like an MMA fighter, okay? No. The hood didn't leave me brave, girl. The hood left me scared. He ends up transferring to a different school, I think. I don't remember if he ended up graduating with us. I don't think so. I don't know, girl. You know how trauma is. I be forgetting shit. So yeah, that was the time I found out my boyfriends were gay. Okay, bestie? And you know what? It happened to me a third time, but that one's not confirmed. I'm not gonna out him like that. But I have my reasons as to why I think he is. I didn't turn them gay. I don't care what anybody says. I did not turn them gay. They were already gay, okay? And there's nothing wrong with being gay, okay? Just don't use somebody to cover you being gay, you know what I mean? Or at least tell them first, like, hey, you want to be my fake girlfriend? Like, half the time we'll say yeah, you know, because I know it's hard coming out. Especially growing up with, like, a super conservative religious background. I know how hard it could be to, like, be out. So next time, just ask, okay? Please, I'm begging you. But yeah, happy Single Awareness Day, Bessie. I hope you are in a loving relationship, okay? And I hope you don't get your heart crushed. Look at my cuticle oil. There's flowers in there. Isn't that crazy? And now for the final reveal of the nails. Look how cute! Wow! Look at the thumbs. Look at the thumbs. Do you like him? Oh, let me show you my toes. Hold up. And yes, I have hairy toes. Sometimes I shave them, sometimes I don't, okay? But this is, can you see it? Hold up. It's a red heart. Bye, Bessie. I love you.